Hey everybody, welcome to the Token Nerd Podcast, where we ramble on about geeky things ranging from Batman to pop figures to Star Wars. I'm Anthony Pettiford. Today we have a special guest in the studio because we're going to do a exclusive and late Civil War review. I have with me Elias Kelley.
Hey there, man. How's everything going?
Oh, it's one of those days. All right, so like we said, it's a couple weeks late, but we're going to do a quick review of Captain America 3, Civil War, the the pinnacle of what superheroes movies should be in the aftermath of that of whatever Batman v Superman was. But I'm sure we'll get to that eventually. So I'm gonna throw it to you. What were your overall thoughts for Captain America Civil War?
Ooh. Honestly, the golly, I thought it was perfect. I I want to throw the P card out there. Yeah, I think it was one of those just all hit slammers, something that jumped right off the page of the comic books, and with expectations already high, it solidified on a lot of them, especially the BP Black
Mm-hmm.
Panther.
Oh, so I- and I'm on the same boat. And for me, I looked at it as a lot of people pointed out that this is the finale to the trilogy of the Captain America movies. And it wasn't until I walked away from it that really appreciated what Captain America has been in his three movies, because Captain America is a response. I'm not. I'm going to take complete credit for this because I was trying to think of something clever that I could put out there that people would say, "Oh, you know what Anthony Pettiford said? He said this." Well, Captain America's reaction, because Captain America starts to the reaction of war, to what Nazis were. So our country's response was, hey, or what that movie's response was to the incoming Nazis and the unpredictableness of Adolf Hitler, we create a super soldier. Whereas then Captain America Civil War, our country was terrified by our own government. We were terrified by policing. We were terrified by surveillance. And so that's what that Civil War was, a direct response to our fears of that. And then basically Captain America 3 is the response to if there were superheroes. So it's the escalation of itself, but so what's the response to it? We have to turn ourselves into what we started, because that's what the Nazis did. The Nazis started putting people into not camps. Well, yeah, camps, but you had to identify yourself, you had to register, and that's what they were
Yeah.
asking these Inhumans and enhanced people to do. So I thought it was interesting that we just kind of went full circle.
Yeah, full circle. Honestly, when I first saw the trailers and I saw the way that it dropped, I looked at it and I was like, you know what, this is so simple. Team Cap, easy.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And I agree with you that it is absolutely an escalation, then like a re-looping to where it almost is a mixture of a standalone and team film,
Mhm.
almost done in such a fantastic way that it actually almost solidifies that there's going to be other loops or spin-offs for other characters. But in terms of the philosophy, I walked in twice with thinking Captain America was the guy.
Mhm.
His way was going, but after watching it the second time, and is this spoilers free?
Oh no, if you don't know anything about this movie yet, we're almost a
Okay.
month out. This shame on you.
Right, totally, totally. I mean, when he finds out that Captain knew about the fact that you know Bucky had killed his mother and his father, you know, it made to me Captain America a total hypocrite.
Mhm.
He's basically holding on to a secret that he wants to, like he said in the movie, to, console himself. And isn't that exactly what they're talking about doing now? Basically withholding themselves from people's.
Yeah. It, when I looked at that moment at the end of the movie, it was but also we have to understand. So Captain America knew Howard Stark too. So it wasn't like he just didn't know this person. And
True.
two, like he argues, Bucky wasn't in control. It's like, do we blame Hawkeye for the events of the first Avenger movie?
Well, I mean, they haven't been as, dire as, the Winter Soldier. I mean, effectively, the Winter Soldier has, destroyed two generations at least.
Mhm.
Tony Stark, and then, from his actions and leading up to and what he was a part of. Okay, okay. So to get to that point, I think that regardless of who the Civil War is between Captain and Iron Man, looking at it from the standpoint of Bucky Barnes, he basically made Captain right at the end.
Mhm.
And he did that by basically doing what was already being done to him, putting himself away, taking himself off the map. Had he not done that, had he continued the fight, I think that captain would have kind of been looked at a hypocrite by the rest of them. It's like, oh, so, as long as they're your friend, what if your niece comes out of cryogenic dish? Are you going to be on the team now, type deal. Whereas, even though Stark's his way is like misleaded almost, or misleading, he's got a point with the regimented access to what we're going to see in like 2021 as the Infinity Wars come
Mhm.
is universal.
Yeah. I I'm at the point now where I've looked and that was what a pro. So we can move on to our pros and cons. So for me, my big pro was like you said, I walked in that movie in my heart, I said, I'm gonna be Captain America. I'm faithfully gonna believe in Cap. He knows what he's talking about. And then by the end of it, I walked away and my head was just like, it's Tony Stark. Like Tony's right. They even said at one point, he said, hey, listen, as long as we sign this stupid act, we can have one hand on the steering wheel. We can, and it's like, okay, well, we can't do this, we can't do this, we can't do this,
Right.
but we could still break the rules. But this way, we at least have some cushion. If we don't, they'll come for us.
Right.
And walking away from, yeah, I think he's right. Number two, and like we mentioned before, with Winter Soldier killing more, is it? Let me make sure I'm right. It's Maria and Howard Stark.
Oh yeah,
I I laughed because I was like, "Oh, great! Here's another mother issue." Like as soon as he said, "It's my mom," I went, "Oh my god, this is the
Maria.
second one." But no, I definitely agreed, and I thought it was interesting if you listen when he says that son of a bitch killed my mom. He
Yeah.
didn't even mention Howard Stark.
Right.
He didn't forgive him,
Oh
but he
yeah.
said that was my mom, and I don't blame him yet. You can say, "Hey, hey, hey." Like it's like if you came face to face with someone who killed your mother, and they said this person was in control, that doesn't change anything. I
True.
mean, we know
True.
standing from the outside, yeah, it makes perfect sense. But being in that spot, no.
Uh, yeah. Honestly, yeah. I mean, that's the truth. Like that the way that they actually showed that that there was still tension between Stark and his father, even in that moment. The fact of the matter that all this rage that was pumping out of Iron Man was strictly from his mother, and then from the performance that I thought was beautiful, Alfred Woodard gave in the beginning for it to be a mother that lost her son and have it vice versa. I think it kind of for Stark, um, also with the absence of Pepper because Mama Bear's not there, so. But not having her around and essentially losing out on all these people while at the same time watching Captain rediscover people in this. That was one thing that was really that was there as well, is that you had a lot of lost talk from Iron Man, a lot of gain talk from Cap.
Mhm. No, I completely agree. So, with that being said, we love that entire aspect. What other parts of the movie were you really into? At least stood out. We
Whew.
can we'll make it easy. We'll even say what character stood out.
Oh my gosh, that's if everyone's expecting me to say Spider Man, no, Black Panther. And gosh, I was not a fan. I thought they should have used Omar Sy. I remember we were talking about that
Mm,
earlier, right? And that's who it was. He was the French guy in the movie The Untouchables.
okay.
And like his whole demeanor, when you look at him from the stance to like the build and whatnot, just screamed Panther, right? But I have to go back and I have to say, after you even telling me about the fact that the guy that played him was 40, right?
Mm,
He was fantastic.
yeah, Chadwick Boseman. A little fun fact for people who didn't know, and eventually I'm gonna have a special review and just talking about Black Panther, but so Chadwick Boseman and even I gotta get his name right. It was John Caney who plays King T'Chaka, who's his father. They found the countries that would be surrounding Wakanda if it was a real country, and then they found dialects from those countries, and that's what they formed their Wakandan accent from.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so from there, and they had to hold it for 6 months. So he talked in this accent so he didn't lose it. And I thought that just took it to another level where you're learning, you're developing,
Yes.
you're creating the character and living the character. And that's what I was feeling. Because even when his father dies in like the first, half hour of the movie, King T'Chaka gets attacked in the embassy attack. I felt bad, and he was only on screen for 4 or 5 minutes.
He was. He was. That's you're right. I think that they did that the scene leading up to when basically Black Widow's apologizing after she's having this conversation with
Mhm.
T'Challa, and they do this I don't know, this really, if you study African culture, it's really exactly what it is they do, of this like embracing of the hands and kissing, and this showing of just, you know, lineage and respect and loyalty and all that
Mhm.
stuff like that, that is so key to the Black Panther character. Because if you do not show that he has that, if you do not show that they behave in a royal type way right out the gate, the entire thing just breaks down. Black Panther is, in some ways, in a lot of ways, I think, even in the further script, I think he's might be integral into getting the Avengers to come back together, the ones that are now like, you know, extradited, if you will, and the ones that are calling themselves with the A. And I think that you trust this character to actually be able to do that, because he does hold a sense of, nobility. And in the comic books, everybody was trying to get Black Panther.
Mhm.
Illuminati was trying to get Black Panther. Um,
I mean, he's the richest man in the world, runs a country that is, in a sense, the most powerful country in a fictional world.
right.
They have vibranium. I mean, nothing about this country comes off weak, and they're years above or in front, ahead of leading powers such as the U.S.,
Absolutely.
France, Russia, etc.
Absolutely. And and showing that, I thought that was fantastic. Also the tenacity, that he had, the whole aspect of, he's there. He's always there in some way, shape, or form. And
Mhm.
if he says that he's against you. And they showed that, especially from a character that, when you look at him, doesn't have the powers of Scarlet Witch, who I thought was fantastic.
Mhm.
I thought that that was one of my things rolling into, is like, how are they going to do Vision? Because Vision, even like when you see him, he descends like a god. If he doesn't want to like touch you, he walks
Yeah.
through you.
His first words in Avengers was like, "What are you?" He said, "I am what I am." I mean, that's
Right.
what God says.
Right.
When he was it Burning Bush? Yeah, when he was the Burning Bush, he says, "I
Yeah.
am what I am."
Yeah, totally. And I think they played that up. And interestingly enough, it's almost like the Vision in the film, he needed to be insecure, or he had such an insecurity, like an AI would, that he had to come off as inferior so he could appear equal.
Mhm.
The fact that he was wearing like clothes, and they happened to be like English clothes because his accent was English. So he's basically extrapolating all this data about what he was when he didn't exist, and then trying to put it into this character now. I thought that he did a fantastic job of portraying that. Can never remember his name, but he's like always the voice of everything. I think he's the voice of like the male Siri.
Um,
Like Dyden, is it?
no.
I don't know. I saw him on Jimmy Fallon though. That was fun.
But no, so you're right. Vision, Scarlet Witch posted off the page. Black Panther was the steal all. I mean, even now we have Doctor Strange coming in November, and people who weren't excited about Black Panther, people who threw out there as Black Panther, like the terrorist group, or Black Panther,
Oh,
the token guy. No, now people are just excited because
yes.
this is going to bring a level of. I mean, is it going to be the sequel to this? Is it going to be a prequel? Because we want to know, was he
Right.
Black Panther before? Because he it's not like you just put the mask on for the first time.
Yes.
Um,
Oh man.
is it going to be when the government comes for the Avengers
Right.
to Wakanda, and it's just going to be him saying no, or are the Avengers going to go up to Infinity War and it's
Oh,
Black
wow.
Panther saying you're not coming here?
Right.
Plus, what are they going to do? They're not going to go after Wakanda.
No, no, not at
There's
all.
not enough strength or
No.
military force.
Right. Like when
I
they
don't know the movie version of Wakanda, but in the comics there was no chance.
totally. They don't even talk about adamantium when vibranium is around. Just so you know, vibranium is a stronger metal for those of
Yeah.
adamantium.
So I will say though, there was Spider-Man and Tom Holland who came in, and I remember when he was casted, I said, "Really, we're gonna bring a child to do this?" And he really brought it. I loved it. I love the 15-year-old Spider-Man. It made sense. I love the fact that he had a Bronx accent.
That was good. That was
Um,
good.
I liked I don't know, just the giddiness. Like, here, this is a serious issue, but he's having a blast.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Captain America. I'm fighting with Iron Man. He Falcon, everyone he's known. These are all celebrities to him, and he interacts with them. So I thought that was cool. The way he came off on it was really cool. But it's nothing in comparison to the moment because Paul Rudd,
Oh
who
yeah.
just shows up. It had to have been what, maybe 4 or 5 days of shooting that he was there.
I'm hugging you too long.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, I'm touching you too much," or what does he say? Yeah, "I'm shaking your hand too long, aren't I?" But no, he really brought it. Like, there's one scene where Cap loses his shield to Spider-Man, and he gives Captain America. He's like, "Your shield, Captain America."
Right.
I love that. And then finally the scene when he's like,
Oh, of
"Okay,
course.
I have any other tricks?" He said, "I have one, but last time I did, I passed out, or if it rips me in two, go on without me." And he becomes Giant Man.
Yeah.
For those of you who've listened to our podcast, you know that we followed the Toiler, which was they released the Lego set version, and when there was the Giant Man in there, so we kind of knew it was coming at the
Nice.
airport scene. But no, they just stole the show, and I loved it. And we could go on and on about the
Yeah.
villain, about everything, but for there to be great things, there have to be bad things. So it was rough for me. What are your cons?
Okay. I was thinking about this, and it was hard. It was hard because I do like this movie. I think it's fantastic. One of the cons for me is uh, no movie really has a grasp on how to do this, but it's how to cut quickly to get story across. And I think that they did a really good job here in Civil War, where it's like, okay, we have to get Black Panther, for instance, has to get a story across really quick. All
Mhm.
right, so interaction, touching moment. Um, you know, the assertion of who the character is in individual standpoint without the super clothes or anything like that, and then they kill. But when you break that scene down, when you break the scene down of like before, speaking with Black Widow up to the explosion of T'Chaka and then him mourning for the little bit, while it gets the point across, I think the scene is like what, 39 seconds,
Mhm.
and maybe even less than that. It's like no movie's done it yet, so I'm just gonna send it because it did it. But there's an inertial quality of having so much explosion and so much bang and so much whatever take you out of the moment. Is that reconnecting? Because for the where I was sitting, I was in the IMAX theater twice.
Okay.
So and that explosion goes off, bang, and we're just kind of like everybody on screen is like, oh, twirling around. So by the time I kind of recognize what's going on with Black Panther, I'm like, oh, okay. So his dad
You gotta
just
use a little
dies.
bit more time to transition what was
Yeah,
happening. And
totally. And then, regardless, I guess it's a con, but it's more of just it's hard for me for this movie. Honestly, this is
Mhm.
bone crushing. Um, I don't for lack of trying or whatnot, the Iron Man suit.
Okay.
Yeah, there are times, especially at the end, when when he calls Bucky a Manchurian candidate and they're rolling through and they're going up for after the five Winter Soldiers. He stands next to uh, he stands next to the wall, and I'm a graphic designer and I do this
Mhm.
stuff for movies, so I'm looking at it, I'm like, ooh, that you could see that was something that they added in there afterwards because the rotoscoping wasn't the best,
Yeah.
and you saw a couple of those things where they were actually trying to transition utilizing grain instead of depth
Mhm.
field for that. And I think some in the 3D, I think that hurt it just a little bit, but other than that, man, those are my cons.
Yeah. I struggled.
Maybe more later.
Mine. I only have two. Well, I have three. One, Don Cheadle's War Machine. It wasn't even a con. I just didn't like him in the movie. He was the one
True.
person he. Okay, I'm gonna
True.
watch the way I say this because I don't want to offend people. But he has that mentality that, hey, this is a rule. You cannot break the rules. You know, he's a soldier through and through. He's an Avenger, but he's a military soldier first,
Yeah.
a U.S. soldier first, and to a fault, he follows orders, and
True.
so that was something for me where he didn't see both sides, and I kind of wanted to see maybe that's what Cap did, or not Cap did, but Iron Man did. Iron Man saw both sides, and at the end, he wasn't all on his own side. He ended up, it was a personal thing at the end, not a an effect of the
Yeah.
Accords. But so from Don Cheadle, I also, this is a nitpick, the villain who was played by it's Daniel Bruhal.
Zemo.
Baron Zemo in the comics and even in the Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes was a character who wore a purple or pink, depending, sock on his head and had a sword and everything was really badass. But in this one, he was a spy or some kind of assassin, and keep hearing him listening to a phone. You're like, what a douchebag! Like, you have a kid, go home to your kid. And then later on, you find out that his family died in Sokovia,
Yeah.
and that was crushing. But that's also something that was interesting is that we see this is the backlash. I mean,
Right.
every movie with all these big, destructive battles, and this brings me to my next fault, but Zemo didn't look like Zemo did in the comic books. That's the only nitpick I can think of.
Purple
Other than
sock
that,
and all?
love Zemo. But like in Batman v Superman, we had the destruction. I mean, absolute destruction of a city with thousands of people. And everyone get mad,
Yep.
but I'm gonna make the comment. Yeah, he destroyed a city. He and Zod did. Well, not personally, but they were the cause. And there was no backlash in Batman v Superman. But we got angry because a warlord got shot, or some warlord and some
Oh, yeah.
some other insurgents got shot. And the world went crazy
Almost
for that. But
forgot
we did
about
not
that.
care about the 72 city blocks that got killed. My aunt was on the 7th floor of that building.
Dangling off.
Yeah. Begging for help. Where was Superman at? Anyway, but no, Civil War made me dislike Batman v Superman even more.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm a big Batman fan, as most people who listen to this podcast know. But I walked away just being, that this is what I wanted. I wanted two men with different ideals and the ideals to clash.
Right.
Instead, in Batman v Superman, which almost was the same plot, it was a smaller man manipulating both of them to fighting. But in this one, they kind of got it, and it
Right,
was
they did,
personal
yeah.
things torn. And in Batman v Superman, it was just like they figured it out. Hey,
Yeah.
this guy's playing us, but instead we're gonna punch each other over and over again.
Totally.
And the final fight in Civil War, I thought was perfect. It showed humanity. It showed not only restraint. It showed restraint, but at the same time, not severity. That's not the right word.
Could be.
We'll say severity. The severity of the savageness of emotions, and when you're pushed to your edge. Whereas in Batman v Superman, I watched that final fight and I was uncomfortable by it. I thought this needs to
Oh, it
end.
was
Like
horrible.
it's too long.
Yeah.
It's too long and too violent. We're gonna you beat him.
Needlessly.
Yeah, needlessly. That was it. It was needless. It's just like there's a weird relation to it, but in some movies, there'll be nudity or there'll be a sex scene, and that's fine. But then there are other times when you're just like, this is for no reason at all.
Yeah.
This is just there
Yeah.
to be there,
That was-
and it's a waste of time. And I felt like that's how that fight scene was. It was a waste of time.
Yeah, totally. Man, we're gonna go there. We're gonna go there. Totally. Marvel killing it, just destroying the game when it comes to making these movies, and they do it because they don't forget to keep you on the edge of your seat. And the way that they keep you on the edge of your seat is by incorporating realism into
Mhm.
what it is that's going on. The purple sock or whatever I
Yeah.
said, right? Zemo was fantastic because the worst, most conniving, manipulative, but also successful villain up until now, after seeing Guardians of the Galaxy,
Mhm.
after seeing, Civil War 1, even when talking about Red Skull, we didn't even see a lot of Red Skull like that, right? Speaking about Avengers, Age of Ultron, you've got the God-type robot, you've got the first Avengers when it's the portal coming out. The one to succeed at breaking the Avengers is flesh and blood, is a
Mhm.
mortal man. And that right there solidifies right now that it does not matter what is going on. It doesn't matter if it's Thanos. It doesn't matter if it's Brad that lost someone else in Sokovia or whatever.
Sokovia.
Sokovia. Excuse me, Sokovians. If your city's still there. But you have to deal with, when doing or being a superhero, it's coming from all places. So as an audience member, when you leave that, even when you get the back scenes that come after the credits, you're still left with more questions. And those more
Mhm.
questions are the same exact questions that you feel that you Scarlet Witch, Iron Man, Falcon, all of these superheroes have off screen. So when you return back to the movie, you're like, oh snap, what do we do, team? Let's jump into it.
Mm.
Whereas DC, you're in you're basically told to shut up, sit down in your seat, and admire these gods the way that we tell you to admire these gods.
Mhm.
And they make them untouchable in DC. And because they make them untouchable in DC, no one, there's no real want or need to like have any emotion or stock in these characters, you know? Like Superman makes the world smaller. Superman can get around the world, like what is it, like 0.00038 seconds slower than the Flash.
Mhm.
I mean, and the Flash can get around there in like the snap of your finger.
Yeah.
So where it is that they've already experienced, like we've already experienced Krypton blowing up, and where they could have incorporated like more galactic things happening, they opted to stay on ground for what I agree with you, brother. A very boring fight that was honestly, to me, a Zack Snyder money shot that missed the target and went on the floor.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We had
Horrible.
so
Horrible.
there's Batman v Superman, which is going to lead off into Justice League Part 1, Justice League Part 2. I think that's how it's going to be, a Part 1, Part 2. And then you have the Russo brothers, who left Civil War and are going on to Infinity War Part 1 and Infinity War Part 2. But the difference is, someone had a really good movie, and everyone's excited about the next two-parter, and then another person is getting ready to lose their director title.
Oh, who's losing it?
I'm pretty sure Snyder's gonna lose it here soon.
Yes.
I'm not sure if they're gonna burn him that way or they're gonna bring in like Ben Affleck to help, assist and direct that. But who really? We'll see. We'll see coming up. But no. So I want to thank Elias for joining us on this special Token Nerd podcast review of Captain America 3: Civil War.
Thanks for having me, guys. This is awesome. I love nerding out with everybody.
Yeah. Comment down below. Let us know what your thoughts on the Captain v Superman. Captain America Civil War movie was. Keep the spoilers to a minimum because there are those in the world who haven't seen it. Hit the like, subscribe to us. Just to remind everybody that we are having the Token Nerd giveaway, and it's our second one. It's going to be ranging from Saturday, May 21st, which was a couple days ago, to this Saturday, which is May 28th. All I have to do to qualify is like us on our various social medias. You can like us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. All I have to do is repost the actual image of the giveaway and then use the hashtag #TokenPool because we're doing this in honor of the upcoming X-Men Apocalypse movie. So we'll be giving away a Wolverine Dorbs and a maskless Deadpool Funko Pop figure. So keep your eyes out for that. And then there's even a special additional prize that we will not mention that's coming your way if you win the contest. But you can check us out on our social media at Token_nerd for Twitter and Instagram, and Token Nerd on Facebook. So I just want to thank Elias one more time. And don't forget to stay spicy, my friends.